A continuation from where we left this first session. Okay, before that, we'll recite the Hearts of Ye Dharma mantra 3 times. Davidla, thank you. As we recite this, this mantra, in fact, the Buddha, of course, the Buddha taught this in several places. One place where the Buddha taught was in what is known as the 33 heavens. In it, heaven where the Buddha's mother took birth, the Buddha gave this Ye Dharma mantra teaching there. And in fact, what happened was that the Avalokiteshvara was there. And then Avalokiteshvara reported this to the Buddha, that there were so many god and goddesses who came to pay the obeisance to the Buddha, and they wonder as to how to accumulate so much of merit within a short span of time. Then the Buddha taught this mantra, Ye Dharma mantra. And if you look at the meaning, it is all phenomena arise from causes. What we said earlier, cause, effect, dependent origination. Dependent origination of cause and effect, how the effects come into being by depends on the causes. So all phenomena of miseries which we dislike, the fears we dislike, they don't arise randomly, they arise from the causes. And precisely what are the causes is indicated by the Tathagata, by the Buddha. And then how to bring an end to these causes, the cessation of the causes as well, is taught by the great seer, the wisdom of emptiness. Okay, this is, as we recite this, I personally, because usually when you speak about reciting mantra, people have a feeling that, okay, I get blessings and so forth. When I personally recite this mantra, it is like a mirror to me, that, okay, what am I doing? Am I doing in line with what is said in this mantra? Am I doing in line with that? Am I really getting rid of those causes and conditions responsible in attracting fears, miseries, illness, sickness, so forth? Or am I, pushing away the causes of the happiness? Or am I embracing the cause of happiness? I recite this mantra and I serve this as for me, this is like a reminder. Every day we look at a mirror. Every day, most likely all of us, we look at the mirror and to see what's wrong with, with me, with my face. So likewise, what's wrong with the face of my mind? This is how I personally use this mantra, not to expect the blessings that some miracle will happen to me. The real blessing is the blessing of the transformation of one's mind. For that matter, we need a reference, this mantra as a mirror. So this is very helpful for me. So let's recite this mantra together. And if possible, recite it every day. Yeah. And we can recite it with the melody, without the melody. It's up to the individual. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham tathagato yavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham tathagato yavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham tathagato yavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramanaye swaha. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of the causes as well is taught by the great seer. Okay, continuation from where we left the first session about the emptiness. We were talking about the dependent origination. And dependent origination and emptiness as the two sides of the same coin. And Aranigarjuna, every time Aranigarjuna taught teaching on emptiness, the salutation is always made to the Buddha Shakyamuni. And in one text, which is referred to as the dissolving the dissolving the conflicts. There, Aranigarjuna, when he dissolving conflicts, is about the conflicts in terms of cognitive conflicts, and so it's about about emptiness, and the Buddha tradition says that. In Tibetan, which means that the dependent origination and emptiness, where the two are seen as synonymous in the experience of the middle way, this is taught by the most excellent teacher to this great teacher, the Buddha, I make frustrations. This is what the Buddha always. Aranigarjuna give the credit to the Buddha. Particularly with the emptiness experience, the teaching on emptiness and dependent origination. And in this connection, what is very important for us to know is the basic infrastructure, the basic framework to understand what emptiness is, what dependent origination is. Once you know this, then on that basis, you can go into the nuances, exploring the nuances, and that's very important. Okay, the basic framework is the framework to understand what emptiness is. We need to begin with the two questions. The first question is, do things exist? Do things exist? If the answer is no, everything is empty, if this is the understanding, this is nihilism, this is not emptiness. So the first question is, do things exist? And that will determine whether you are going to the proper direction of the emptiness or you fall into nihilism. If the answer is no, things don't exist, because the Buddha said that everything is the nature of emptiness and selflessness, everything is empty. If this is where somebody is turning towards, this is nihilism, this is not emptiness. Only if you're able to say, yes, everything exists, including the self, others, happiness, miseries, law of karma, the triple gem, dependent origination, everything exists. Only when you say this, only when your answer is affirmative to this question, do things exist? Then you will be asked the second question. Do things exist objectively? The answer is no. So to the second question, if you say no, this is not nihilism, you're going into the proper direction. But whether that is the actual understanding or the precise understanding of emptiness or not, that entirely depends on to what extent you have studied, to what extent you have reflected upon, and to what extent you have meditated upon these three factors. So that will just determine which level of understanding of emptiness you have reached, because the understanding of emptiness has various layers. Various layers are there, and so last time I vaguely remember that I identified the 5 layers of dependent, the 5 layers of emptiness. Carla, did I mention this? Yes, 5 layers. Okay, so the point is that when you speak about emptiness, these two questions. The first question, after answers no, that is nihilism. Second question, if things do exist, then do they exist objectively the way they appear to you? Your answer should be no. If you say yes, this is absolutism, extreme of absolutism. The first answer, the no, is the extreme of nihilism. The second answer, things do exist objectively, that is absolutism. So to the second answer, the answer should be, second question, the answer should be no. That that indicates that you are going the proper direction towards emptiness. Okay, this is very important. And in future, after studying emptiness, as Tenzin Dumala, program coordinator, indicated that we have the Nalanda diploma course and Nalanda master's course. And after studying like Nalanda master's course for about like 4 years, so the first batch, now we are extending 1 year more. It's initially planned for 4 years. Now it's going to be extended another 1 year. It's going to total 5. And likewise, there are many other courses offered in many places. And those who render or those who, let's say, join the very systematic studies of the Buddhist philosophy, for them, it's not going to be a big problem pertaining to the second question. Do things exist objectively, the way they appear to you? The answer is no. Okay, so the point is that we need more extensive studies. Particularly, I would highly recommend you that that each one of us, not only you, myself also, although I'm very fortunate that I studied extensively with with the help of my teachers and so forth. But all of us, I'm suggesting that whatever practice that you're doing, fine, just continue doing that, including like some people, they do what is known as the Vipassana meditation, 10-day Vipassana course. Some people, they do Dzogchen practice. Some people, they do Mahamudra practice. Some people, they do, say, the union of clarity and emptiness practice. Some people, they, what is known as the primordial, the innate clear light, and so forth. So whatever practice that you're doing, do that. Meanwhile, they say to unfold this reality, emptiness, that is not about it's not about okay, I've been just meditating on this. No, this not help. So that requires more extensive studies and extensive the reflection. And once you gain a stable understanding of that, then you can go into meditation. Okay, so this is how it should be like. And then alongside, let us not forget the bodhicitta. And when the bodhicitta is gone, when the bodhicitta is not there, then whatever we do does not become the minor teachings, minor practice. So let's not forget these. And for the bodhicitta, the foundation, the pillars of the renunciation is required, the 4 seals. So these things are not to be missed. Okay, with this in mind, the 2 questions, do things exist? Number 1, if the answer is no, you fall into nihilism. And then second question, do things exist objectively, they way appear to you? If your answer is yes, you fall into absolutism. You fall into absolutism, and the answer should be no, they don't exist objectively, they exist subjectively. But the question is, how do they exist subjectively? This question. So for that, it is only through extensive studies. It's only through extensive studies, reflection, and then followed by meditation. Okay, and some people, they go through extensive studies, and then they need, just after all these extensive studies, they require a little bit of, say the practice. That part, if they put, then all the materials are there. Now we need to cook the food. All the materials are gathered, and many people, they don't gather the food. They only have the rice and tomato, and they try to cook food. So therefore, some people have rich materials. All the ingredients are there, they're not cooking. That's very sad. So some people, they don't have the materials. They only have the rice or the onion, 1 piece of onion, and then they're trying to cook so hard. And then how can they expect good, delicious food coming out? So we need the ingredients. All the ingredients are required for emptiness. And then once you have the ingredients, then don't stay satisfied. Oh, I've studied. Yeah, I've studied. I know what emptiness. Don't stay there. The purpose is not just for you to study. not just to get the say what emptiness is, to know what emptiness is, but to really bring about transformation. So for that, we need the practice after the study and reflection. Okay. Then with these two questions, the next is okay, emptiness. If there is not nihilism, how can I understand emptiness? Okay, for that we have to understand the way Nagarjuna indicated the emptiness and dependent origination to be seen as synonymous in the face of middle way. This is what the unexcelled teacher taught, and to this teacher, I mean frustration. To this teacher, the Buddha, I mean frustrations. Okay. So with this, the next point, which is so important, again, it still falls under the category of the creating framework of emptiness. Framework for that, I say how is emptiness, how emptiness and dependent origination, these two mean the same. This is one thing which is so important for us to know. And not only that, we know that on a daily basis, see if we can reflect on these 2 points. If possible, try to remember the verses. For example, like stanza by Nagarjuna, where he said that whatever is dependent originated, that is said to be emptiness. That being mentally designated, this is the middle way. Try to remember these verses. And Shahala is so fond of remembering verses in Tibetan. Yeah. So so those of you who know Tibetan, and yeah, you can remember in Tibetan, and otherwise we can also remember in English, and whatever language that you feel comfortable in. Hebrew, Gilala is there, and then Gilala is involved in translation of these, and I'm sure the Yagila is also involved in translation. So in Hebrew, also you can recite these. And what I would say is that whichever is your mother tongue, if English is your mother tongue, try to say this in whatever other languages like Tibetan, alongside the English. If your mother tongue is Hebrew, then say, if you say in Tibetan or English, say this, and meanwhile, for example, for me, Ye Dharma mantra, when I say this in Sanskrit, yeah, I know the meaning in Sanskrit, but because that Sanskrit is not my native language, when I try to reflect on the meanings, it is a little draggery. Whereas after reciting the mantra in Sanskrit, then I recite this in Tibetan. In Tibetan, Chönam Tamje Gyulechun, the Gyudeshin Shibasun, Gyulo Goba Hayamba, Transon Chibe Digesun. This is the Tibetan version of the mantra. So when I recite this Tibetan, it with great ease the meaning flows, because the Tibetan is my mother tongue. So likewise, this is how we can do. We can, and then people remember verses in Tibetan. So this is very auspicious in the sense that this same verse in Tibetan was being said by these great teachers for millions and millions of times. There's an accumulation of merit, accumulation of blessings there. No doubt, these blessings are there. But they say, therefore, if you have the affinity to say this in Tibetan, although Tibetan is not a native language, is very, there's a great blessing. And but you should not miss to recite that in your native language, which you are very comfortable with. Okay, so now with this, what I'm saying is that how are these two things similar? Emptiness and dependent origin, how these two mean the same? For that matter, we need to know 3 points. Number one, the first 2 points. A equals B, then number 2 is B equals C, and then number 3 is your job. Therefore, A equals C. My job is to tell you how A equals B and how B equals C, and then your job is to say, therefore, A equals C. Right? Don't give me the job to do, therefore, A equals C. That is your job. Once you get these two information, then it should be you. we should say, oh, I see, therefore A equals C. This is what you mean. So emptiness means dependent origination, number one. This is A, number one. Number two, dependent origination means the middle way. Therefore, your job, okay, therefore emptiness means the middle way. It is not nihilism. Okay, the first, how is emptiness dependent origination? Number one, this is what we have to do. The next one is, how is dependent origination the middle way? Then your job, how is emptiness the middle way? First, how is emptiness the middle way? For that, we need to know 5 points. 5 points. Okay, oftentimes what happens is that when I say 5 points, 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, 2 questions, so forth, people, they think that these are something that you find in the text. And then they go to other teachers. They say that, what are the 5 points for emptiness? What are the 5 points to understand emptiness and dependent origin to mean the same? So I always have to warn them that there's no one book to say that these are the 5 points. The 5 points are something which are given there, which are given in order to explain things very easily for that purpose. For example, the 5 levels of dependent origination. You will not find a specific book which talks about 5 levels of dependent origination. When I was teaching this, I have to tell the audience that in future, don't go to the other teachers saying that, what is the 4th level of dependent origination, so forth. And then after saying this, one of the students went to South India and met my teacher and asked, Venerable Sir, your student Geshe Dorji Damdul, he taught us the 5 levels of dependent origination. What is the 4th one? I told the whole class that don't ask such questions. You should be very precise. Just tell what the 4th is. Don't say the 4th one. Just say, be very precise. Emptiness of true existence while not rejecting objective existence. Make it very precise. Then the teachers will, because that the teachers, they expect you to say something very general rather than something which somebody has formulated. So my teacher was very direct. My teacher said, okay, who told you? Geshe Dorji Damdul said it. Ask him. Just ask him. Okay, so what I'm saying is, in future, don't go to any teacher saying that, okay, what are the 5 points to establish emptiness and dependent origination to mean the same, right? So these are things that you have to know. Once you know this, be convinced. They are not difficult. Be convinced how these are all connected to each other. Once you know that, then you should be able to formulate it nicely. And where you need more clarification, then you can ask any teacher. Okay, so the 5 points to understand emptiness and dependent origination to mean the same. What are the 5 points? This is so important. And when we present the 5 in the form of the 5 points, they seem as though they're so easy. So easy because we are seeing the steps, we are seeing the connections. When we see the links, you will easily, when you have the steps to the terrace, if you want to go to the roof, I say without the steps, you jump, you'll fall. But with the steps, it's very easy. Okay, this is how it makes us feel that it's very easy. Okay, 5 points. Number 1 is emptiness. And I'm sure there are many of you who are hearing this several times, so often. But it's very important for us to habituate our mind. For example, like I say, when we take the medicines for tuberculosis, or for even for, let's say, for tuberculosis, this is a good example. Medicine for tuberculosis, just 1 dose is not sufficient. We have to take it consistently for 6 months. So likewise, so these reflections, like the 5 points and so forth, the more we get into these, the more our mind will submerge into the experience of emptiness. This is very helpful. Okay, number 1 is emptiness. Number 2, emptiness is a short form of emptiness of independent existence. When we say, let's say that, when we say the COVID-19, what is COVID-19? Are there 19 of these COVIDs? No, it simply means COVID means the coronavirus disease, COVID, and 19 is the 2019. It's just a short form of saying that COVID is the coronavirus disease which came in 2019. This is the full form. Likewise, the WHO or the WHO building, which means and the building for WHO. What is the what is WHO building? Means it's not who are you? It's the World Health Organization. It's a short form of World Health Organization. Likewise, when you speak about the first one, emptiness, it also means empty, nothingness. It is a short form of emptiness of independent existence. It doesn't mean nothingness. It is a short form of emptiness of independent existence. Number two. Number three, emptiness of independent existence means nothing exists independently. Number three, nothing exists independently. Number three. Number four, nothing exists independently means everything exists by dependence. Okay, when we have say the class, when we have class in a physical, in a real physical location, we come together. Say number four comes almost spontaneously to everyone. When we say number three, nothing exists independently means number four, everything exists by dependence. This is what everybody, spontaneously it comes from them. Everything exists by dependence. Number four. Number five, everything exists by dependence means everything is dependently originated. Through these 5 points, we come to deduce that emptiness doesn't mean nothingness. Emptiness means dependent origination. This is one part, how emptiness equals dependent origination. Number two, dependent origination means the middle way. How is dependent origination the middle way? This is number two. Dependent origination has two sides. Dependent origination has two sides. Number one is dependence, and number two is origination. Dependent and origination. The first, dependent. When we say something is dependent, it rejects independence. It rejects the extreme of independence. Extreme of independence, extreme of absolutism. That something is independent, that something is absolute. So when you say dependent, you are rejecting the extreme of absolutism. Then the other side is origination. When you say origination, something comes into origination. Something comes into existence. Something comes into existence means it rejects non-existence. It rejects nihilism. So the first one, dependence, it rejects the extreme of absolutism. And the second one, origination, it rejects the extreme of nihilism. Combining, bringing them together, bringing dependent and origination together rejects the two extremes. Rejecting the two extremes is following the middle way. This is how the dependent origination is understood to mean the middle way. So the first part, emptiness means the middle way, dependent origination. Number two, dependent origination means the middle way. Therefore, emptiness means the middle way. It is not nothingness. This is what Nagarjuna taught in the fundamental wisdom of the middle way. The fundamental wisdom of the middle way. He's made the classic text where the most important text wrote on emptiness, the fundamental wisdom of the middle way, where he said that whatever is dependent originated is said to be emptiness. That being mentally designated, this is the middle way. So if you can recite, for example, in Tibetan, this says, this is the Tibetan, the Tibetan verse. So if you can recite these verses on a daily basis, every now and then, if you can recite these, and as you recite, when you have time, you can recite these, with the reflection, meanings reflected. As the meanings are reflected, our mind, which is chronically adhering to objective existence, just grasping at the objective existence, so it is a disease. This is a disease to believe in objective existence, everything. So the dream, to see dream as real, objective existence. And then the faith in the Buddha, I go for refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Well, again, it's a grasping of the Buddha as objective real. And then the anger towards, people who are, say, talking badly about Buddhism. Again, there's objectification of the person, objectification of Buddhism. So all these things happen. There's such a disease there. Our disease, this disease is seeing everything, even the medicines as illness, as poison. It's making everything poison. So now, because this is a chronic disease, it's not just a mild disease. It's a chronic disease. Because it's chronic disease, the treatment it'll take long. So the way I indicated earlier, taking the medication for this tuberculosis, just one dose of the isoniazid, rifampicin, ethambutol is not sufficient. You have to take these medicines for 6 months continuously. Every day you have to take the medicines. Likewise, these verses you have to recite every day and study them. If possible, every day study. Read something on emptiness. Include these verses in your meditation. And every day. So as we recite these verses with the reflection of the meanings, then it is like you are scratching. That is the calcification happen on the calcification, solidifications happen of the dirt, badly, they say the gold, where the water flows over it for like hundreds of years. Then the calcification, solidification happens on top of this gold. You don't see the gold. It's just a dirty thing there. And then to remove this, it'll take time. Just try to scratch. Every time you recite these verses, you reflect emptiness, you are scratching this, scratching this, scratching this. What happens? And gradually, then you will see the gold inside. Then this is how we gradually experience emptiness. We can't expect that somebody is so bright, or you go to the guru or some the Rinpoches or some teachers, and then give you some blessings, and the next day you have the revelation happens. Wow, everything's like dream. There's nothing objective real. This will never happen. Don't expect that, because the calcification that happens to our mind of the dirt is so chronic, so chronic, so chronic. It requires our effort to scratch them. And sometimes, so when we see things around, the dirty things there, and then you try to clean it, oh no, the stain does not go away, this is intrinsically there. No, you just consistently rub it, and then over time, what was once seen as so intrinsically there, even the stains disappear. So when you see this is so helpful for our practice. It's a great reminder, reassurance to our practice, to us, that if I put this effort the way I put to remove the external dirt, external stain, and finally after like thousands of scratching this, now the stain is gone. Rubbing it, the stain is gone. Oh, this is how my mind can be cleansed, by rubbing it with reflection on the emptiness, reciting these verses. If I do this on a daily basis, gradually it happens. Otherwise, don't expect that suddenly everything comes out and the gold inside manifests. Don't expect that. Don't expect that. If this is something which can be achieved, the Buddha would have been. Buddha loves you so much, each one of us. Buddha would have done it since long time ago. Yeah, so therefore, we should be very realistic. This is one part. Now, the next part that I'd like to share with you about what is emptiness. Just like what is that? like a trailer, like a movie trailer. Okay, what is emptiness? Okay, let's say that oftentimes, how many you in your life you have some experiences where you believed in something which appeared to you, later to discover that it was wrong. It was misperception. Raise hands. Okay, all of us. Okay, it never happened in my life. Raise hands. Not even once. Whatever appears, that's true. Okay, no one. Okay, is there anybody who likes to share one anecdote with us? Anybody who likes to share? I saw something, or yeah, I saw something, and I thought it was like this. I saw something as A, and later on to discover that it was non-A. Anybody who likes to share your experience with us? Raise hands. Okay, if you don't want to share, okay, Iridla.
Yesterday, I was riding the bicycle in the nature,
Yes.
and I saw some leftovers of fires in the forest near where I live. And I thought I saw a burned turtle. And then I came closer, and I realized it was just a pile of soil. So I was very happy.
Oh, thank you so much, Irid. So this is so important. What we study, what we try to apply to our life. In fact, many of these things which we can learn from our day-to-day experience. Sometimes they can be frequently, we can have these experiences, sometimes once in a while, once in a lifetime. In fact, our perceptions can be deceptive. And we all know that. We have our own experience. Now, something which is shocking would be that all our perceptions are wrong. Not only once, not only that time when Iridla was the cycling, and so there was the turtle being burned, and she went closer. It was my wrong perception. It was my wrong perception. It was not my perception was wrong. So not only that, every time, every moment. Okay, and I should not be too over generalizing, because there could be some people who might be realizing emptiness directly. We never know amongst you. Yeah. Otherwise, if you are like me, then the every day, every moment, 24/7, our minds are seeing things which don't really exist here. Our minds are deceived. Our minds are deceived every moment. Okay, so how do I know this? It's quite scary if it is real. And some people may take me very seriously. Oh, he must not be telling lies. Oh, then it's very scary. What I'm seeing is not the reality. This is not the reality. It's very scary. Some people may think that, okay, yeah, this is his job. He's to share all these things all the time. This is his job. Yeah, he'll say like this, but this is reality. Look, this is a table. This is a glass of water. That's true. Who can reject this? Right? Some people feel like this. When I was teaching on emptiness one time, that was many years ago, when we were saying that what we are seeing, nothing's really there. And then there was one of the attendees, he was telling the other participants that, okay, what we are seeing is not really there. He said, yeah, that's true. What we are seeing is that the person is there. That's not there. But then behind that, there is, the atoms are there. The atoms and these things are there, without which then you cannot see the person. You cannot see the flower. Yeah, so the what you see as the flower is not there, but something's behind that. That is the atoms, electrons, molecules. They're all there. So, I was deliberately trying to deconstruct all these things, and he was deliberately constructing, helping to people to solidify things. Something is there, saying that, yeah, that's true. Yeah, what he said is true. Yeah, there's nothing there, but then behind that, there's something there. Something there. Without the atoms, then the flower cannot come about. Without the 5 aggregates, the person cannot come about. There's something there. Okay, so the point is that some people, they easily believe. That's also quite scary. Some people, they are quite stubborn, right? They come with their own philosophy, right? They're not ready to, they're not being open to learn what is objective reality. Okay, so the point is that whatever we are seeing is deceptive. How can I know this? This question. This is a very serious question. So let's learn the first thing, that our perceptions can deceive us. Let's not forget it. Our perceptions, I'm not saying that our perceptions deceive us. Yes, it deceives us. It deceives us. But then what I'm saying is that our perceptions can be deceptive. How can I say that all what I perceive, what I perceive? True. How can I say that? Our perceptions can be deceptive. Okay, yes, but how can you say that it is deceptive? This next question. Okay, I'm going to give a very quick example, and then we will then we have to go to the text. Okay. Okay, and let us start with a clean slate. Clean, cognitively clean slate. Clean slate meaning don't come with the baggage. Don't come with the past baggage of beliefs, right? Just come with a clean slate, and your answer must be according to what you think, what you wholeheartedly what you think, not like what you've learned. And sometimes what you learn and what you think, these two can tally, that's fine. But if you don't come up with what you think, if you always come up with what you've learned, you will never progress in the philosophy. You will never progress in the understanding of the emptiness. So all the questions, the answer should be always coming from what you think. And then when you give the answers, what you think, then you will end up seeing you will enter yourself seeing being in say contradiction. When you see the contradiction, this is when you are progressing. When you see contradiction in yourself, then you don't want to stay in this contradiction. You will try to get out of this. So this process of getting out of the contradiction, that is the growth. This is how we have to grow in the understanding of the philosophy. Okay, my question to you is, what is this? And you will say, water. Okay, how many of you say water? Raise hands. Very good, thank you. And if I ask same question to say to the physicists, they will say this is electrons, a bunch of electrons, protons, neutrons. How many agree with me? Raise hands. If I ask this to a physicist, I'm not asking. If I ask you, you will say it's a bunch of electrons, protons, neutrons. No, I'm asking, if I ask this question to a physicist, the particle physicist, what is this? Particularly looking at it through electron microscope, they will say that this is a bunch of electrons, protons, neutrons. How many agree with me? Raise hands. Very good. Okay. Now, what is so important is just seriously think. As I give the instructions, just seriously think that just close your eyes and think of what is coming to your mind. When I ask, what is this? You said it's water. What comes to your mind? Raise hands. No, just think of that. Close your eyes and think of what comes to your mind when I ask you, what is this? You said water. What comes to your mind? Don't forget it. Just visually have it in your mind. Okay, good. The next. Imagine that you're a physicist, the particle physicist, and I ask you the same question. What is this? And you said, it's a bunch of electrons, protons, neutrons, particularly when you are looking at it through electron microscope. Okay, close your eyes. Just imagine what is coming to your mind when you give the answer. It's just a bunch of electrons, protons, neutrons. Okay, good. Now come out. Okay, my question to you is these two appearances. The first, the appearance which came to your mind when you gave the answer, it's water. And second appearance that came to your mind when you answered, that is a bunch of electrons, protons, neutrons. Are these two appearances same or these two are different? Raise hands. Somebody. Anyone? Very quick. Shahala.
These two appearances are different.
Say it again.
These two appearances of electrons, protons, neutrons, and water are different.
Okay, two appearances, appearance of the water and appearance of a bunch of the atoms, electrons, protons, neutrons. These two appearances different. How many agree with Shahala? Raise hands. Okay, my question to you now. If these two appearances are different, are these two appearances, are they the two appearances of the same object? Same object or different objects? Same object, raise hands. Okay, these are two appearances related to the same object, and we believe that this appearance is what is there is this appearance, and the appearance bunch of the electron, protons, neutrons is their appearance, the same, but we have two different appearances. We have the first appearance, we cannot have the second appearance. When we have the second appearance, we cannot have the first appearance. While you are having the second appearance of the object, you cannot have the first appearance of the object. How many agree with me, sense? Okay. Now the question is, where are these appearances coming from? From the object or from your mind? These appear two different appearances. Where are they coming from? Susanna is coming from the mind. Okay. How many of you will say that? Yes, it must be coming from the mind. From the object is the same. But appearance, there are two different appearances. Raise hands. Okay. Now look at it again. How does this appear to you? This appearance of the water, does it appear as coming from the object or coming from your mind? How does it appear to you now? Coming from the object or coming from the mind? How does it appear to you? Okay, Kim Louis.
Is coming from the object.
Yeah, it appears as though like it's coming from the object. This appearance also like is coming from the object. But earlier you said it's coming from the mind. When I was taking you to compare the two appearances, then intellectually you come to know that it's coming from the mind. Now when you look at it, again this appearance as water is coming from the object. This is how it appears to you. This is deceptive. That the water appears as coming from the object, that is deceptive. In actuality, coming as water, coming as a bunch of atoms and so forth, is all coming from the mind. Okay, now it seems as though like we have to say that, what is this? This is water? I'm not asking what is this, I'm asking what is this? You said that the water is coming from my mind. Then what is this? I'm not pointing to the mind. I'm pointing to what is this? Then if you say, no, the what is in the mind is not there, again, it contradicts your conventional world, conventionality. It contradicts convention. Yes, this is water. This bunch of electrons, protons, neutrons, both. Yes, it's both. So how can you account for that? How can you account for it? This is extremely important. Now, if you want to see this as water, don't use electron microscope. If you want to see this water and if you want to enjoy this water, don't use electron microscope. You cannot enjoy the water. Don't use, remove, use another mind, use another lens of perception. If you want to see this, if you don't want to see this water, then use the lens of the electron microscope. So we see that there are two different perceptions. There are two different lenses, two different minds. The ordinary mind and a mind through the electron microscope. You're getting it? Okay, raise hands who agree, who understand to this point. So there are two different minds. One, the ordinary mind looks at it, it sees the water. The object appears as water. And the other, through electron microscope, object appears as a bunch of the electrons, protons, neutrons. There are two perceptions taking place. So these two perceptions or two minds, in a loose sense, this is very important. In a loose sense, let me call this mind, which is not being so refined as the electron microscope or naked eyes, we call this as a conventional mind, a mind analyzing the convention. Mind analyzing the convention. And the other mind, which examines things more closely, we call this as mind analyzing the ultimate. Okay. Say, which of the two minds sees things more closely? Our naked eyes or the electron microscope? Anybody? Know it? Know it?
Electromagnetic.
Yes, know it. Okay. Okay, how many agree with the Kama Sobala? Raise hands. Electron microscope is the one which sees things more closely. What it sees is more ultimate as compared to the naked eye. What the naked eye sees is very gross, not ultimate. So the mind, electron microscope, we call this as the ultimate analysis. And the conventional or our naked eyes, we call this as the conventional analysis. And the electron microscope is the ultimate analysis. In other words, all the minds can be classified into two. With respect to same object, the same object can be seen by two different kinds of mind. One which is ultimate analysis and the other which is conventional analysis. So when you look at it with your naked eyes and say, this water, you are using the conventional analysis. Raise your hands to agree with me now. Very good. Okay. When you look at this through on the electron microscope, and you see that there's no water, you're using the conventional analysis. Raise hands. Okay. If you raise hands, you're not listening to me very carefully. I deliberately changed the words. It should be ultimate analysis. It is not the conventional analysis. I said it's conventional analysis. Raise hands. Everybody raise hands. Not everybody, some. Okay. So you are not paying attention to me. You are just you raise hands. Raise hands. Okay. So what I expect you to do is think. Don't follow blindly. Okay. So we see that with the same object, there are different perceptions. All these different perceptions, we can classify them into two groups: conventional analysis and the ultimate analysis. Ultimate analysis meaning analysis which apprehends the object more closely, and the conventional analysis is analysis which apprehends the object from distance. Let's not forget these two terms: conventional analysis and the ultimate analysis. And last time, I think Edith asked some question on this. Yeah, she asked this question. Okay, so let's not forget this. With this in mind, Heart Sutra says, form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. Now it makes sense to us. It's so profound now. Okay, let's say that what is seen as a flower here, this flower, what is seen as a flower here, this flower, say this flower, form, Heart Sutra says, form, say group A who looks at this object through your conventional analysis, through your naked eyes. And group B, who looks at it through electron microscope and sees that the flower is not there. So group A, what the group A sees as form is what group B sees as no form. Form is empty, there's no form, just bunch of atoms. How many agree with me, raise hands? Oh, you good. This is the meaning of form is empty. Meaning, what the form is, it is just your perception, which means what group A sees through the conventional analysis as form is what group B sees as emptiness, that the form is empty. Or technically speaking, the same object seen by the conventional analysis as a form is seen as empty of being formed by the ultimate analysis. So form is empty. It's the same object. Now emptiness is form. The same object seen as empty of form by the ultimate analysis is seen as physical form, beautiful flower by the conventional analysis. So emptiness is form. The first one is form is empty, emptiness is form. Now, what group A sees as form, what group B sees as emptiness of form is the same object. Same object seen in two different ways. So what group A sees as form and what group B sees as emptiness, these two are not two different objects, it's the same object. And form is not different from emptiness. And what group B sees as emptiness is not different from what group A sees as form, because it's just the same object. So therefore, emptiness is not different from the form. In other words, what is seen as form is just from the distance from a conventional analysis. See as form, while the ultimate analysis sees as that form is empty, which means it's just a mere appearance coming to your mind. It's not really there. So what group A sees as form, what the conventional analysis sees as form is what the ultimate analysis sees as emptiness of form. So what group A sees, what the conventional analysis is a form, it's just appearance taking place to the conventional analysis. It's not really there from the object. It's just come from the subject. Okay, this is extremely important and the very precious understanding. So from this, if you get a clue that, okay, this what is seen as a form is actually coming from a mind. It's just the conventional analysis. In the also ultimate analysis, it's not really there. Just imagine that you're looking at the same object through electron microscope. What do we see as a flower? It disappears. It's not really there. It's not really there. It's empty. Okay, so this is what we should be doing, and we should do it with multiple examples. And examples will greatly help us to just scratch this chronic disease of seeing things as objectively real, so solidified. This chronic disease, we are scratching this every time we are thinking about form is empty, emptiness of form. Even reciting this, of course, just reciting it, just reciting form is empty, emptiness of form from in Tibetan. Some people, while they're cooking, they recite it. All right, reflection is not happening, right? But they're reciting it. So reciting, there's a benefit, but a benefit far less as compared to when you actually reflect on the meanings. Number two. Then number three, not only reflect, you meditate on this, right? You meditate on this, and the experiences are being invoked. The benefit is just million times more. But they even reciting form is empty, emptiness form is not empty, emptiness is not form while cooking the food or while doing jogging, right? When doing that, you're reciting it. Yes, of course, this is far better than not saying anything and just joking, just cooking food, right? So these are the things. So even if you're not reflecting on the meanings, just saying these sacred, the very precious sutras, reciting these when you're cooking food, when you're jogging, saying mantra and so forth, that there is a mind has made you to say this. What is that mind? The mind which feels the preciousness of these. So the sense of preciousness of these sutras will build up within your mind. So that is a very precious imprint within your mind. Next time you have recited so many times where the imprint is laid so much within your mind, and somebody else who may be very intelligent, who may understand the meaning very correctly, but then the imprints are so less. The sense of importance that you give to this sutra, you will give much more sense of importance than as compared to the other person, because the other person does not have that, the affinity as much, imprints is much less. So with this imprint, then the benefit is that you will keep holding to it as very precious. The more you hold on to that as precious, the more you will, your mind will explore. The more your mind explores, the more you will see the clarity. The more you will see the emptiness. This is how we will eventually, this is a long-term plan, how to unravel this ultimate reality of emptiness. Not expect just, you study it and then within 2 years time, the other set of what emptiness is. Like not in the diploma course, just within 1 year, expecting emptiness to come to your mind, or not in the master's course, within 4 years, you expect emptiness. Yes, we never know. Some people some people can, depending on how much imprints that you have laid in the past life. But if you, in this life, if that happens, well and good. If not, at least we are, building up, accumulating these precious imprints within the mind. And this will allow us to unravel this treasure of the wisdom of emptiness very soon. Okay. So with this now, the examples, for example, like in the Vajrachedika, the Dhammapada Sutra, examples given such as Karma Rabri Mameta, Yuma Silva Chubuda, Milam Lodan Tinabu, Dujeshanam Tedarda. Which stanza is that? Which page? The David Lau, you can show I think maybe on page 4 or 3 or 4, not 3, 4 or 5, page 4 or 5, the stars. Stars, visual aberration. Which page? Yes, I think the praise to Shakyamuni Buddha, end of that, praise to Shakyamuni Buddha, page 15, the verse 8, thank you. This verse, these are not from extracted from one particular text, they are from different sources. Stanza 8 is taken from Vajrachedika, Dhammapada Sutra. Example given are a star, a visual aberration, a flame of lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. So these examples, in fact, we need lots of examples in order to deepen our understanding of emptiness and to create more and more scratches to the chronic disease of the self-grasping ignorance. These examples, we need lots of examples in the reflections. And if you don't understand, if you intellectually understand something, but it's not coming to experience, again, go back to the examples. This is how we have to go to and fro with examples and the actual meanings to be reflected. For example, a star. This is a very powerful example. Say a star. When do you see the stars in normal situation? In the daytime or in the night? In the night. So night is the metaphor for our ignorance. The night, the darkness. The night and the metaphor ignorance. Only with ignorance we see the star like the conventional world. All this what we are seeing, I said that these are all deceptions. Deceptions meaning we are sucked up in the deception, in the ignorance. With the ignorance, then all these conceptions can happen of these stars like the conventional world. All these things happen. These is just as the stars become visible when your mind is blinded by the ignorance, the darkness. Whereas the moment you feel the dawn, the daylight comes, the stars disappears. The moment the wisdom dawns in you, all the conventionalities, your projection stops. Your projection stops. The moment the projection stops, sickness, aging, death, tension, depression, all these unnecessary things, all you stop to project. The moment you stop projecting all these things, nothing is there to affect you. So nothing is there to affect you. You are freed from the dream because you stop dreaming. You stop projecting things means you have stopped dreaming. So that is when you wake up. So when you wake up, the stars disappear from your sight. This is the meaning of the waking up from the sleep of ignorance, and that you are being least affected by the conventional world. You are not at all being affected by the conventional world. This is the freedom. This is nirvana. This so precious concept. Okay, so we need lots of examples. Examples like star, and then the examples like the given here, the dream. Okay, how many of you in your dream you once remember that you were in the dream, you were just wondering whether this is dream or real? No, this is real. Raise hands. How many had that experience? Okay, how many of you never had such an experience? Raise hands. That in the dream you are just wondering whether it's dream or real, right? It never happened. Okay, Yakila, it never happened to you. Huh? Oh, that's interesting. Okay, this is very important. This is very important. In your dream, you must try to do that. You must try to analyze it. In your dream, what did I say? In your dream, you must try to analyze what is happening now. Is it dream or real? You must analyze this. Okay, how many of you have a question coming up when I said you must analyze it? Raise a hand. Okay, Tamila, what question comes to you? Tami Horowitz.
I find it hard to analyze in my dream if this is real or not.
Okay, how many agree with Tamila? Raise hands. Okay, but do it. Do it. Okay, still you'll be unhappy. This is what right from the beginning we said, that in dream, one thing about the dream is that we don't have the control. And now you are talking as though like there's a control that has to do it. Okay, so now there is one technique. In fact, you won't believe, when I was in my 20s, this was one of the major questions which hit my mind so badly. It's so badly affected my mind. What I'm seeing, whether this is dream or real. Even now, what I'm seeing is that dream or real. This is a very serious question. I asked this question to many scholars. How can I say that what I'm seeing now is the real? How can I say that this is not the dream? This is a question which I ask, and I don't get a convincing answer. Still, it's a big question. So when you in the waking state, the more you ask these questions, in the waking state, how can I say that what I'm feeling now, that this is not a dream? How can I say that this is not dream? How can I say that? The more you do this analysis, that there's a more likelihood that in the dream you will ask this question: am I dreaming, or what I'm seeing is real? Sometimes in the dream I used to have nightmares, and I was just wondering, is this real or dream? And I don't want this to happen, but this happened. Is this real or this is dream? Okay, so many times, because in the daytime, I was thinking about it a lot. I was thinking about, if you do this in the daytime, can you do that? There's some degree of freedom in the daytime, you can do it. So the more you do that in the daytime, how can I say that this is not dream? How can I say that, right? So one time I was next to the main temple in Dharamsala in the dream. And then there was the raindrops dripping from the sky, tick, 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 tick. All of this experience. And then I just stretched my arms. I stretched my arms, and I could feel the drops, raindrops, tick, 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 like this. And I was asking, is this dream or this real? I was asking. I asked myself. And then I could feel this. I could feel all these, the sensation, the cold sensation, and the drop sensation, not just a shower, a drop, tick, 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 like this. I could feel it. No, this can't be a dream. This is real. And I woke up. No, what I thought as real can be also deceptive. Even now, is this real or dream? If I say this real, this can be also deceptive. This was what came to me very strongly. I was very strongly thinking about it. Okay, so this is how we can try. We can try. In the daytime, we think about it more. That, in fact, if you try to give an example, I say, if I ask you now, are you in a dream, or are you dreaming, or this is the waking state? You will say that this is a waking state. And if I ask you why, what proof do you have? Believe it or not, you cannot, I challenge you, that you cannot give any substantial answer, good proof to say that this is not dream. You cannot say, you cannot give answer. If you're going to give an answer, I'll be very happy. This is the answer that I've been looking for the last almost 30 years. Yeah. Okay. So with this is so important. This is so important. All what is happening is the perception taking place through the conventional mind, conventional analysis. Besides this perception, objectively, there's nothing there. This is something we have to constantly reflect on. Okay. Likewise, other examples such as mirage. Examples such as a convention of being a president, being a prime minister, and so forth. These are all the conventions of the people's coming up with the election. Through the election, which represents people's thinking. And then somebody becomes a president, somebody was the prime minister. It was the same person. And somebody becomes a Nobel laureate in physics. And then the moment the person is declared as Nobel laureate, you look at the person, you see the person very knowledgeable. There was no difference between before receiving Nobel laureate, a Nobel Prize, and after receiving Nobel laureate. There's no difference. The moment you gave the label that this was Nobel laureate in physics, you see the person you see as the brilliant, as a genius. Your perception changes. And what is Nobel laureate? Nobel laureate, the person doesn't become different. It's the same person. In fact, to be very honest, the person before becoming Nobel laureate, after becoming Nobel laureate, before becoming Nobel laureate is smart, more intelligent, more sharp, because he's one day younger. One day younger, the brain is more active, the knowledge-wise is more same. And brain is more active, one day younger, with the same knowledge, which means one day younger is smarter. But then that person is recognized as no one. The next day the person becomes a genius. There's nothing that's a genius. It's the same person, but you perceive it as a very different person. This is how things happen. Okay, so take all these examples, and then gradually try to get your own examples rather than thinking about somebody else's examples. And of course, the very standard examples that you find given in the sutras, they are so precious. We have to take them, reflect, use them in a meditation. Okay, good. Come on, Chuji. Okay. So with this, if you get a feeling that, okay, so what I'm perceiving is just a perception taking place through my convention analysis. With the ultimate analysis, it's just empty. It's just empty. What is seen as water, what is seen as person, what is seen as this, that, and so forth, it's all on the basis of how it appears to my mind. Okay, so if you're a little convinced about it, then we go through the following stanzas. This is so important. In other words, what we are learning here is that unless until we come to see that, until we stop the projections, we stop the projections. For example, like say, in Israel, which lane is correct? Driving which lane? Right lane or left lane? Shahala, I remember you are writing on the left lane, is it? Or the right lane?
Right lane.
Okay, right lane. You are right. You're driving on the right lane. Okay, yes, right lane. Now this is one thing that just think of, that let's say before, say the 3,000 years ago, do you think that Israel has this lane system? Shahala? 3,000 years ago.
No, we didn't. We didn't have it.
So in the world, all over in the world, I don't think there was the lane system, which means you can drive anywhere. Both lanes are correct for you. 3,000 years ago, which means even before Buddha Shakyamuni's appearance on this earth. So both lanes are correct. So there, your projection of this lane is correct, that lane is correct, is gone. It's not there. You are not projecting that this lane is correct, that lane is correct. This is what you're not projecting. Because of that, you don't have to worry about the lanes. You're freed from being put to penalty, being what is that? The bill.
Call it a ticket in the States.
Ticket. So the 3,000 years ago, you did not project the lane system, so therefore you are freed from the tickets. So if you stop projecting everything, you are stop being affected by everything. When does it happen? Only when you're able to see things from the lens of the ultimate analysis. So therefore, this understanding of the emptiness, to know that from the object there's nothing really there. It's all coming from the subject. Only when you realize this, you can afford to have the ultimate analysis. And ultimate analysis, which helps you to stop projecting all phenomena. At that point, nothing will affect you. Say, in the dream, you do virtues, you're so happy. You do non-virtues, you are very unhappy. So there's unhappiness and happiness, virtues, non-virtues happen in the dream. But even the virtues in the dream, they're affected by the dream. When you wake up, that is the transcendental virtue. When you wake up, that you are not being affected by any external factors, you will not engage in harming anybody. You will not engage in anything else to affect anybody, to affect yourself. That is the total freedom, and that virtue, state of mind, virtue, is the transcendental virtue. Virtue, there are two: contaminated virtues and uncontaminated virtues. Virtues that you are doing in the dream, they are being contaminated by being the dream. And virtues that we do by not seeing the emptiness, by continuously projecting things, we are contaminating these virtues by the self-grasping ignorance. When you stop projecting things, that is a transcendental virtue or the uncontaminated virtue. That happens when you experience the emptiness directly. This is so precious. And in that experience, you are totally free from any forms of fears. The moment you say fear, there's something there which can affect me. You're freed from that. Okay, so with this, to get nirvana, to attain nirvana, leave aside Buddhahood, not a mention of Buddhahood. Even for nirvana, without this experience, you cannot account for the total freedom from miseries. Okay, so If you get some clue of what we have been discussing now, then we go through stanza 44. 44 down will make great sense to us. Okay, 44. So now the discussion is about the emptiness. Why? To be liberated, you need to understand emptiness. Why? This is a question. And according to lower schools, the following the lower schools, many Vaibhashika, Sautrantika, and in fact, from stanza 44 down, it is between the lower schools, meaning all the schools, all the Buddhist schools, except Prasangika. Prasangika, who says that there's nothing objectively there. And all the other schools, they hold on to some degree of objectivities. So this is a debate between Prasangika and the lower schools. Lower schools means all other schools except Prasangika. 44. Although the Arahat bhikshus meaning the fully ordained monks, Arahat bhikshus are the foundation of the Buddha's teachings. It is hard for you to posit the existence of Arahat bhikshus because it is difficult for those endowed with minds apprehending the true existence to posit the visibility of nirvana. Okay, we talk about the foundation of Buddha's teachings. To speak of the foundation of Buddha's teachings, what we said is that the whole purpose for the Buddha's appearance on this earth is one, to free all beings from suffering. That is only by teaching the wisdom of emptiness. So, in order to say that the Buddha's teaching is alive, there must be the people who embody this teaching alive. And who are these people who embody this teaching in the context of the conventional world in those days? In those days, they are the arahats, who are identified as arahats, meaning who are identified as having been freed from samsara. So these are the beings. They hold the Buddha's teachings. They embody the Buddha's teachings. But Bodhisattva Shantideva, Prasangika is telling the lower schools that if you say that one does not have to understand the emptiness of objectivity, then in other words, anybody who does not have this sense of emptiness or objectivity is not liberated. If that is not liberated, from your point of view, that what we identified as the arahats, they should not be arahats. If they are not arahats, they are not embodying the real teachings of the Buddha. Although the Arahat bhikshus are the foundation of the Buddha's teachings, it is hard for you, the advocates of objective existence, to posit the existence of Arahat bhikshus, because Arahat bhikshus means somebody who has realized, who came out of the dream of objectivity. And from your point of view, the arahats, they have not come out of the dream of objectivity. Because it is difficult for those endowed with minds apprehending the true existence. Because somebody who has a mind viewing true existence, viewing objective existence, this person cannot be arahat. True existence, to posit the feasibility of nirvana. This person cannot have nirvana, that person cannot be arahat. In other words, to be arahat, one has to have the insight into the emptiness of objective existence. Anybody who does not have this insight into the emptiness of objective existence, the person is not arahat, and the person has not realized nirvana. 45. Suppose you reply, but they are liberated because they rid themselves of disturbing emotions. Well, that liberation must occur immediately upon for overcoming just the manifest afflictions. However, despite their lacking gross disturbing emotions, they have the karmic potential to propel them to another samsara birth. Okay, so there are some technicalities involved there. I would not hesitate to explain these technicalities, and just bear with me. If it is too technical, I'll try my best to make it not as technical. Okay, now just imagine that Prasangika on one side and all the Buddhist the schools on the other side. There are two camps, Prasangika and others. And the others, they're also practitioners. And the Prasangikas, they also practice. Let's say that there are two sides, both of them practice to achieve nirvana, let's say, nirvana. And the group B, who does not advocate the emptiness of objective existence, who doesn't believe in the emptiness of objective existence, they also practice. They have their own, they have their own understanding of what is nirvana, how to achieve nirvana. They have their own system, and Prasanga has its own system. But it's not that there should be two opposite systems. If I say that, okay, you go north from Delhi, you go north 500 kilometers, you go north, you will reach Dharamsala. You can have audience with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. If you want to have audience with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, you go north 500 kilometers, you will reach Dharamsala. And the other person said, no, that's not true. That's not true. You go south 500 kilometers, and then you will reach Dharamsala. Both presentations cannot be correct. It's not that both can be correct. No. How many agree with me? Raise hands. And some of you may say the earth is round. It doesn't matter whether you go north or south, you will reach. But I said 500 kilometers. All right. So the point is that 500 kilometers north, 500 kilometers south from Delhi. It's not that both ways you will reach Dharamsala. No. So if there are two presentations, one is for sure wrong, right? So therefore, the Prasanga is saying that you have to see the emptiness of objective existence, and others say that no, this is nihilism. You don't have to see this. Without seeing this, you can still achieve nirvana. So these two are opposing views. It's not that both can be correct. No. So the debate. Now, let us not see this as just a debate, a scholarly debate. What is this? Why don't we practice? To practice, we have to find out what you're going to practice. What are you going to practice? This is what these practitioners are debating. So you have to decide. Before you practice, we have to decide we have to practice which of the two. So therefore, these debates become very important. These debates become very important. And I say, for example, in your body, how many cells are there? How many atoms are there? This is not important. For nirvana, it's not important. Even if you don't know this, don't worry. Right? It's not important. But to realize emptiness of objective existence or not to realize emptiness of objective existence, that is very important. So we should make a distinction. It doesn't mean that, to build scholarship or build a scholarly qualities. This is just this for the scholars. This is not for the practitioners. This is wrong. This is wrong. The practitioners should know what is nirvana. Practitioners should know what is Buddhahood in order to achieve that. So this both nirvana and Buddhahood must be understood in the context of emptiness experience. Okay. So now imagine that group A, Prasangika, and group B, the other schools, in both they are practitioners. Yes, they are serious practitioners. Not only practitioners, very serious whole life dedicated practitioners are there, lifelong practitioners are there in both systems. Now imagine that the group B, the other schools, they come up with somebody who meditates on say impermanence. Let's say for the breathing meditation, then meditation impermanence, meditation on the dukkha, meditation on the emptiness of autonomous substantial reality, and then the renunciation, meditate years and years and years and years and years, and following very strict rule of say the existence, meditating. Okay, of course the person wishes to some realize you, and then to some extent, in fact, the text says that commentaries on this text says that such practitioners and for example, the detachment towards the world, towards the material world, and all these things, it happens. And anger also subsides. Passion subsides. And then the person's mind is very calm, stable because of meditation, samadhi. Then the impermanence meditation, dukkha meditation, seeing the world, whole world as suffering nature. Then seeing the nirvana, meditation on the what is that like when suffering comes to an end. They meditate for every day, like say meditating in some cases like 10 hours. They meditate for that 10 hours, and then that for like years and years and years, like 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. What's the outcome? And then some of them are revered to such extent that they are referred to as arhats, because they don't display any emotions of anger, afflictions, anger, attachment, fear, and so forth in the face of challenge, in the face of external stimulus. All these emotions, destructive emotions, stop. So the disciples and the people around, they classify this person as an arhat. Now, if you ask the prasangika, is that person arhat or not? Right? And ordinary people, don't ask ordinary people. Ordinary people say Buddha, right? For ordinary person, if somebody performs some kind of miracle, you classify that person as Buddha. Yeah, so don't ask ordinary people. Ask the really learned people, learned and experienced people. When I ask them, then they will say they'll classify which level the person has reached, which level of spirituality. Because it is not Gade, it is Gade para Samgade Bodhisattva. For ordinary people, it's like Gade Bodhisattva. So therefore, the point is that don't ask ordinary people. Yeah. So when you ask these examples, which lower schools say identified as arhat, when they bring the prasangika. So what about this? This person, we have arhat here, and this person has nothing to do with the emptiness of objective existence. What is your point? What is your take on this? Then the prasangikas who will say that no, it's not arhat, not arhat, not at all. It's not about the deviation in the philosophical position. The person, the thing is, the arhat means that the person should not go into samsara again. Arhat means the person is already being freed from samsara, who should never relapse. But these people will relapse. How can you prove that? Okay, so this is something which is, this is where we are particularly, we all, in fact, I personally feel so fortunate, having met with all these precious texts, in my own capacity, I become very open-minded. I don't feel offended, easily. Oh, Buddhism, what is Buddhism? What is this? What is Tibetan? It doesn't matter. Whatever you say. Finally, what I want is I want to be free from my own suffering. And whatever helps me to get into my suffering, whatever helps me to embrace the other beings with love and affection, that's my path. It doesn't matter whether it's Tibetan Buddhism, this Buddhism, whatever. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Yeah. Finally, it should be the teaching which can actually liberate me from suffering and actually make me to expand my compassion towards other beings. That is what is required. Okay, so with this in mind, then the prasangas will say that no, this person is not arhat. Arhat, and such people are there actually. Such people are there who the followers revere as arhat, and the person really displays a high degree of, let's say, the mental control, of not being succumbed to the afflictions in the face of the stimulus. So how to explain these people? When you ask this prasangika, prasangika will say that no, yes, of course, the person has meditative stabilization very high, meditative impermanence, suffering, and so forth very high, and because of which the dukkha, say the control of one's emotions is very high, but it's not reached to the highest level yet. It's not reached to the level where, what is that? What's it? This one. Okay, like escape velocity. Escape velocity. which means that you get to a velocity whereby you just eject from the orbit of the planet Earth altogether, right? Otherwise, say the aeroplanes and so forth, there's a velocity there, but then this velocity is not that high enough that it can go out of the orbit of the planet Earth. It's continues within the orbit of the planet Earth, bound within the gravity. Okay, so in other words, to eject out of samsara, so that the person will not come back again, will not have to come back to samsara again, well, that requires a different stability and different experience, and that is lacking. And these, it says that in the text, they mentioned that. Then what about these people when they die? Eventually, they will leave their body. When they leave the body, what will happen? So it says that some of them, not all, some of them, they will realize that, okay, closer towards the death, the person can feel that, okay, now a very subtle attachment to the self is coming, because 12 links of dependent origination through which samsara operates, 12 links of dependent origination, before the birth, closer to the death, number 8 and number 9 will be activated. Number 8 is attachment. Number 9 is grasping. Intense version of attachment, which is grasping. These two will be activated involuntarily, closer to the death. So these people who are revered as arhat by his or her followers, when these people without the experience of emptiness of objective existence, when they when they're approaching closer towards the death, then they can feel that the subtle attachment to the self is getting stimulated. They could feel it. Because of this, some of them, they're okay. So which means that what I meditated, I did not really succeed complete. And some people, they would have some people, particularly following the Buddha's teachings directly, they may have a loss of faith in the Dharma. It's very dangerous. Loss of faith in the Dharma. Okay, this path which I practiced does not have the capacity to free me from samsara. I thought I'm freed from samsara. Now I can feel that a tinge of attachment coming, and my karma is being activated by these two, making it number 10, which is becoming, and then we'll go to number 11, which is birth in samsara again. So now this is happening. So the dharma, which I believed it to be the authentic dharma to free me from samsara, does not really have that capacity. So we'll have a loss of faith. A loss of faith is a serious negative karma. And this negative karma will again, go into the samsaric operations. Okay, this is what is said in the text. So the point is, from this, it's not about, the poor practitioner there, all these years the person practiced with such a level of the realizations, and finally again, having to lose faith and come back to the samsara. What a pity. It's not about pity, it's about you. What they are, they're one story. They will take care of themselves. But you, at least first you, that what do you want? You want a nice time in samsara, or you want to be free from samsara altogether? If you want nice time in samsara, then accumulate other virtuous karmas, generosity, ethical discipline, patience, enthusiasm, and so forth. Without emptiness is fine. Then this will help you to have the favorable states in samsara. That's fine. Long life, facilities, everything good, you will have that. But it will come to exhaustion. Oh, what exhaustion? This is the question. What do you want? I want to be free from samsara completely. Then go for the wisdom of emptiness. Wake up from the sleep of ignorance. Without which, if you approach not the complete path, then it will not really free you from samsara. So this is what this should be the message. Not that, the poor guy, so what's the point of the poor guy? No, it's not about the poor guy. It should be you who should not be the poor guy, who should not be the person who identifies as poor guy by somebody else in the future. Right? You put all the efforts, And finally, you realize that this does not have the capacity to free me from samsara completely. Okay. Okay, we'll stop here. One or two questions, if you have one or two questions. Oh, Shahala.
Geshe, thank you very much for the teaching. I really enjoy. I have one question. When you spoke about the Chittamatra and Prasangika view, then Geshe gave an example of the screen in the movie to speak about there is externality, subjectivity and externality. And also when we speak about the Prasangika view of conventional truth and ultimate truth, we speak about them being on the same, on the base of the same object. So then, if I got it right, so my question is, which is this object, which based on it, there is conventional truth and ultimate truth? And what is the screen that subjectivity is screened upon? If there is one, so how can we say there is no objectivity at all? If there is no one, then again, what is this screen? How can we speak of the screen or conventional truth and ultimate truth based on the same object? Thank you.
Okay, Shahala, thank you so much. Okay, how many you follow Shahala's question? Raise your hands. Okay, let me paraphrase what Shahala asked. And okay, particularly let's say the Prasangika about, say, the subjectivity with the example of the projector and the screen. Let's say this is screen. There's a screen here, and the projector is here, and you are here. You're watching a movie there, and the movie is coming from the projector. Projector is here. And the question is, so what we said is that the movie is 100% from the projector, nothing from the screen. So what's the screen is the object, and what's the projector is the subject, and the movie is coming from the subject, not from the screen. So Ashal is asking, what is the screen metaphor? Metaphor of the screen. And if it's an object, there's some objectivity there. So in Prasangika, there should be no objectivity, right? And then if the screen is not there, then where is the movie? the scene, where? Yeah. So then the example makes no sense. Without the screen, the example makes no sense. With the screen, there's some objectivity there. Okay. Is this question, Chala?
Yes, Geshe, and of course the same with the object and conventional truth, ultimate truth, which cannot be perceived together.
One part. Then the second part is let's say that this object, I'm not saying water, whatever, I say just this object. Okay, let's say what is visible is for you is this. Okay, let's say this object, and through your conventional analysis, you see a flower. Through the ultimate analysis, you see the emptiness of the flower. So I ask that this is the same object. It's the same object where you are seeing the two truths. What is seen by the conventional analysis is known as conventional truth. The flower is the conventional truth of this object. And what is seen by the ultimate analysis, emptiness of the flower, that's the ultimate truth. So what is seen by ultimate analysis is ultimate truth. What is seen by conventional truth, conventional analysis is the conventional truth. So the flower is the conventional truth, and the emptiness of the flower is the ultimate truth. Okay, so these two are of the same object. Okay, what is this object? What is this object? We say the same object. What is this object? Is that the conventional truth or the ultimate truth? Is this your question?
Yes, or maybe a different thing, a third option, not conventional truth, not ultimate truth, but a third option.
What is this object? What is this object? Okay, two questions are there. This is very good. To make it very quick, the first, let's say that this is screen and you are here, and this is a projector. The screen is the metaphor for the object, Where's the movie? The movie is on the screen. Movie is not from the screen. Movie is on the screen. The screen is there. Don't reject the screen. Because for the screen, we can talk about the externality. I came from outside. Now I'm inside the hall. All these things, conventional world makes sense. Only we are able to accept the externality and internality. So the screen is there. Object is there. Object is there. Object exists as an object. Object does not exist objectively. There is object. There is no objectivity. Don't forget it. There is object, but the object does not exist objectively. So what is rejected is not the object. Object is not rejected. Objectivity is rejected. Objective existence is rejected. So the screen is there. That is a metaphor for the object, and the object exists. And the movie is the object that is on the screen. So the movie is on the object. It's not from the screen. It's not from the object. It's from the projector. It's from the subject. The next question. What is this object? What is this object? When seen from the conventional analysis, you see as a flower, which is conventional truth. That's fine. When seen by the ultimate analysis, you see the ultimate reality. That's fine. So these two are the same object. Same object. What is that object? Is that conventional truth, ultimate truth, or the third truth? What is that object? Okay. So what is that object independent of the two perceptions? Independent of the two analyses, it doesn't make any sense. Things make sense only by dependence on the imputation by the mind. Only by the power of the mind, then things make sense. So the independent of the imputed mind, you are looking for the objective existence. There's nothing existing as objective real. Had it been the case that we have more time exclusively on emptiness, had it been the case with more time, then we can go through all this analysis. There are even more questions, more interesting the analysis are there. But the point is that what we need to keep in mind is that emptiness, the independent of subjective imputation, there's nothing there. There's nothing independent there, independent of the imputed mind. This is what we have to keep in mind. So if these two perceptions are taken away, what is that? Makes no sense. Things exist only by dependence on these two, one of these two perceptions. Okay, Poon King.
Thank you, Geshe. My question is
Welcome.
quite relating to the question just asked. According to Prasangika view, external objects exist subjectively. So my question would be maybe relating in the sense that is the external object part of one's mind or the nature of the mind or in one's continuum? If it's not in the nature of the mind, what is the mechanism of the external object arising?
Okay. Okay, how many followed this question from Poon King? Raise your hands. Okay, let me paraphrase and they correct me, Poon King, if I got you wrong. The question is, Prasangika accepts externality. Externality is accepted. So this, but everything is mental projection. And what is accepted as externality? If it is mental projection, what is that? Is that related to the mind? If it is yes, related to mind, is it nature of the mind? Is nature of the mind? And then if it is not nature of the mind, how is that related to the mind? Yes. And how is that projected by the mind? Then yes. How can you explain the externality? Is this your question? Okay, this is a very good question. Very good question. Okay, anybody who can help me? Anybody who likes to help me? Huh? Raise hands if anybody who likes to help me. This is a very serious question, very good question. Okay, nobody wants to help me. Okay. Okay. Okay, no one. Okay, this is good question. Thank you. Let us put it, this is a very serious question and very good question. Let us put it like this. Let's say that number one, the first, take the example, the movie projector example. Think of it seriously. Think of it seriously. Number one, that is, you are here watching the movie here on the screen, and the movie is projected by the projector here, and say you are watching the movie for 1.5 hours. You are watching the movie for 1.5 hours. This projector is busy for 1.5 hours. In between, you did stop for a moment, even for a second. It stops. The movie here stops. There is a correlation there, which means that this movie is coming from the projector. This meaning this projector is the metaphor for your mind, and all things that we are seeing, they're the metaphor of the movie. Now, the movie is the metaphor for all the things that we are experiencing. And these things, just like the movie, they're projected by the projector of your mind. And yet you see that projector and the movie, a screen, there is a gap, physical gap. That is externality. There's externality. Because there is a physical gap there, one cannot be the nature of the other. The movie cannot be the nature of the projector. Movie on the screen cannot be the nature of the projector. It can be projected. It is projected, but not the nature of the projector. Because projector was behind you and the movie is in front of you. These two are separate. Substantially, they are separated by space, distance. Because of these two cannot be the nature of each other. So what does it mean by nature of something? The mirror and the reflection of the mirror. Wall and the paintings of the wall. Paintings of the wall are the nature of the wall. The moment you destroy the wall, you cannot retain the painting. While the wall is destroyed, you cannot keep the painting intact. Likewise, you cannot have the image in the mirror after destroying the mirror, which means these two are the same nature. Whereas the point is that what is projected there, the movie projected there, and the projector, they are separated by the space. And the mirror and reflection of the mirror, they are not separated by a space. There's no space in between. Wall and the painting of the wall, there's no space gap between the two. Where there's no space gap, there's no time gap. There's no time gap, there's no space gap. In a loose sense, we say these two are the same nature. Where there's a space gap, there's a time gap, these two cannot be same nature. This is what we have to keep in mind. Okay, now the point is that this question can be very serious, particularly for somebody who is meditating on this. For the meditation purpose, if you ask this question, then what I would suggest is first think about this analogy so much. Analogy as much as possible. Think about this analogy, movie projector, projected movie, and the space gap. Think about it very seriously. Number one. Then number two is think about say for example the flower. This flower is just a bunch of atoms, and the flower per se, besides what your mind perceives, there's nothing there as a flower from the object. There's nothing there. Now, not only the flower, even this mind sees the flower. Even this mind sees the flower. Even this mind also does not exist as from the object, from its own side. Now, there's as well, like everything is like a dream, everything, including the dreaming mind. This is all like dream. When you see this, in this dream-like nature, if one is non-existent, everything is non-existent. If one is existent, everything existent. So if the flower is there, then what is the flower? Just the illusion like. Then the illusion externality is also there. I came from outside, right? Say the Pun King, you are not in Tibet house. Wherever you are, somewhere outside, you are there. Outside, inside, in this illusion like, say the external, internal, all illusion like can be said to be posited. We can posit even the external, internal, good, bad, all these things. They're all similar in being lacking true existence. There's nothing really truly there. But if you are to say one exists, then you have to posit everything exists. But then what is existence? Existence is just how the conventional mind sees. A conventional mind sees external and internal. So the external and internal exists. And the moment you say external and internal, same nature is rejected. So this is how we can understand. So this is a very important point. One, to see the emptiness. Once you see the emptiness, then how that is complementary with the functionality of the world. In other words, how the emptiness and the functionality of the world, these two are complementary to each other. So that is what Lama Tsongkhapa explained as the most difficult part. Once you are able to solve this, then you see the functionality is so easily, seamlessly you can explain it by explaining emptiness. So for that matter, first we have to establish the emptiness nature of all phenomena, the dreamlike nature of all phenomena, including the mind. Then you are left with nothing. You are left with only the conventions of the world. In the conventions of the world, I came from outside. Now I'm inside. Now after this, I go out to go to my room. So all these are conventions. So what the convention says, that is existent. So from that point of view, externality exists in the Prasangika. This is a extremely important point. This can happen to us when you see the harmony of the two truths, conventional truth and ultimate truth. Okay, Pung King, thank you. The Yakila.
Right. So thank you, Geshe. I'm wondering about what's the measure for realizing the lack of objectivity. Like, for example, now I can think that if I look for myself in my body or in my mind, I cannot find anything. But no, I still don't realize emptiness, because if I just say that if I look for something and I can't find it, then I realize emptiness, then everyone can realize emptiness. It would be in some sense too easy. So is there like a more accurate measure for when I realize the lack of objectivity?
Okay, this is a good question. Thank you so much. And in fact, when was that? No. Okay, 2 days ago for the Chogo Tujin, the sacred day, the first annual of Dharma happened. 2 days ago, when we did that, we did teaching on the 3 principal aspects of the path. 3 principal aspects of the path, and I would highly recommend to Yakil and others, particularly when you see that what is the measure of having understood emptiness. Okay. Before I point to this, what I like to say is that first we have to study these 5. Emptiness of permanent, unitary, independent self, emptiness of autonomous substantial reality, emptiness of external reality, emptiness of true existence while not rejecting intrinsic reality, and finally, emptiness of objective existence. 5. And before we say try to analyze if I realize emptiness or not, just try to see if you can distinguish, if you can see that these 5 are different, these 5 are not one. What is the emptiness of autonomous, what is emptiness of permanent unity? That look at me, I don't find myself, my hand, none of this is me. What are emptiness, autonomous, substantial? I don't find myself. It's all same, right? Which means that we don't understand these five. If we don't understand these five, far away to speak about realized emptiness. Okay, first we have to study what these five are. Not only we study these five, what these five are, experientially, you should be able to distinguish among these five. This is one thing which we have to do. Then the next part is that of course this is not an easy thing. The next part is that they say what I perceive, anything that I perceive, including my mind, they don't exist the way they appear to me. Okay, this flower appears to me like this, but it does not exist like this. This appearance is deceptive. When the anger arises within you, why he did this like to me? Stop for a while. Or how does this appear to me, self-appear to me? Instantly, your anger subsides. Instantly, your anger subsides. The attachment, craving arises. Just stop for a minute and just look at the person. See to how that this person doesn't really exist the way it appears to me. Instantly, the craving dissolves. If these things happen, still it is not emptiness, but you are going into the direction of the first and second. Even with the first and second, you can have these these responses. Responses when you meditate on the meant to be emptiness, you meditate on this, and then these responses to quell your emotional disturbance happen when you experience even the first and second. And the third one is very powerful. And the fourth and fifth, of course, the most powerful. So this is how we have to analyze. Then, after having the extensive studies, and reflection, extensive studies like Acharya Chandragiri's text, how some say that you cannot identify yourself among yourself, still the self exists objectively. Philosophically, they hold on to this philosophy. So first see if you can understand this, what they are saying. When you understand it so well, then how that is rejected. This will greatly help us. And then when you're very all what I said now, you are actually following them so well, and still you are confronted with this, then you have to read them. The last three verses of the Lama Tsongkhapa's text, the three principal aspects of the path. Isangi. Page 77. Okay. Okay, page 77. Page 77. Yes, good. The verse number, okay, it's not just three verses, there are more verses there. 10, 11, 12, 13, 4 verses. There are 4 verses, 10, 11, 12, 13. Read these 4 verses and see if these 4 verses really resonate your thinking. If it really resonates your thinking so well, to the extent that you just feel like crying out of joy. If that happens, and I'm not in a position to say that you have realized emptiness, but I may be able to say that, okay, you are somewhere around. Because I don't realize emptiness myself. How can I say that you realize emptiness? Without me realizing, I cannot endorse anybody. So I cannot endorse you, but at least I can say that you are somewhere around. But you're good. Yeah, thank you. Okay, we'll stop here. More questions? Anybody? Okay, Kim Louis.
Yeah, Thank you, Geshe. I just want to ask,
Welcome.
we were talking about this Chittamatra school of having this self-cognizant mind, right?
Yes.
So I'm just how is the their so-called practice of, if everything is like is coming from the mind, then if you see somebody who is suffering, how is that compassion arise for them to help the other person who is suffering?
Okay, thank you. Kim, this is a very difficult question. Okay, someday from tomorrow, better not to have the question answer session. Inshallah. From tomorrow, no question answer session. Very complicated questions are coming up. Okay. So if you see everything as the nature of your own mind, then you see that everything is just the reflection in your own mind, nature of your mind. How can you feel compassion towards other beings? Okay, this is a very serious question. Okay. Anybody who likes to help me? Anyone? No one. Okay. Kamasubala.
I've been thinking about this myself a lot.
Oh,
And if you know about ultimate reality, and you in this part, and conventional and ultimate, then I feel we cannot ignore being compassionate at the time when someone is suffering.
yes.
I know these things for myself, and I understand her suffering, or his, or the animal even. And personally, I would not apply ultimate reality.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Kamasubala. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, let's say this is a good question. Say that everything is the nature of the mind. Now, the two extremes, nihilism and absolutism, and the middle way, these are the concepts that you find applicable to all the schools, including Chittamatra. Chittamatra also, you have this concept of the two extremes versus the middle way, following the middle way. When we, in the pretext of understanding Chittamatra philosophy, in ways that whatever I am encountering, whatever I'm experiencing, that's simply the nature of my mind. Through this, if your compassion disappears, if your compassion tends to disappear, seeing that there's then nothing, nobody is really there who suffers. If this word comes to your mind, we fall into nihilism, according to Chittamatra. So this understanding of the Chittamatra philosophy, instead of harming us from the practice of compassion, it should enrich our practice of compassion. If that is not happening, we are falling into nihilism. So now the point is, but how can we explain it? If things are all the nature of my mind, then how can I have compassion towards something which is the nature of my mind? For this is a very serious question. Other person say compassion means towards a suffering person. What is that suffering of the person? The suffering of that person is the person's mind suffering. The person's mind is the one which experiences the suffering. Raise your hands who agree with me. Very good. So because it's a person's mind, now I look at person A who is suffering, and then you are the nature of my mind, right? So Chittamatra would say that this is a huge debate actually. Chittamatra would say that the body of the person that you are seeing, that is the nature of your mind. The body of the person that you are seeing, that person, body of the person that I'm seeing is not the nature of your mind. It's the nature of my mind. You're getting it? The same person A's body can be seen, is seen by you as seen by me. And the body body person A that I'm seeing is the nature of my mind. The body of the person that you are seeing is the nature of your mind. Okay, what about the person's mind? The body is fine. What about mind? Because mind is one which feels the pain, the mind. Can this mind be the nature of my mind? The answer is no. So for this huge debate, and because of this, Acharya Dharmakirti, he composed a separate text by the name Establishing the Different Continuum. Because if your mind is the nature of my mind, then the two minds should become the same continuum. Then Dorji's continuum and your continuum should be the same continuum. And all the beings, may all beings be free from suffering. When I say this, all beings come to my mind and they become the nature of my mind. All beings become one nature. That is totally against the reality, because say the Buddha's mind is free of suffering and our mind is full of suffering. And the two, one is full of suffering, one is free of suffering. How can these two be the same nature? This is the reality. So the point is that Acharya Dharmakirti, this debate happened, and Acharya Dharmakirti gave the answer. Chittamatra, in other words, Chittamatra gave the answer that your mind can never be the nature of the mind of somebody else. Your mind and my mind, they're always different continuum. They are never the same continuum. So for this, a separate text is established. Now compassion towards other beings. So there's a mind which is other than my mind, which is suffering. You're getting it? And it is not external. It is not, because mind does not have external, internal. Externally, internal is all physical. Externally, internal is all physical. Mind does not have physicality. Mind doesn't have physicality. And yet, the mind, there are like 100 people, there are 100 different minds, 100 different mental continuums, all different from each other. Okay, this is a very serious discussion. And externality-wise, as I said, so because of this, given that there's a mind there which is suffering, so you feel the compassion, because compassion is a mental state which wishes others to be freed from suffering. And why do you have to feel it? It's because that say for many reasons. One reason which is most convincing to me is that finally I want to have the maximum happiness. To have the maximum happiness, the mechanism is by letting my mind flow to infinity. How does the mind flow to infinity? Compassion. So we have to have compassion towards others who are suffering because I want the maximum happiness. This is the most convincing thing to me. Okay, so the point is that we can still have compassion, whereas if you feel that with Chittamatra, then there's no room for compassion. If that is not coming, if this is how one's mind comes into dilemma, that how can we practice compassion if everything is nature of your mind, then we fall into nihilism. So this we have to always keep track of. So we don't say that the flower is the mind. Flower is not the mind. Flower is the nature of the mind. Flower is the flower. Flower is not mind. Flower is a physical object. Flower is a physical object, but it's not external object. It is a physical object. It is not external object. It is a physical object. All these distinctions have to be. And the Kim Lula, your question is so good that we need constant discussions. We need constant discussions on these topics constantly, and fine-tuning happens to get the broad picture of Chittamatra, to get the broad picture of Madhyamika. It's not that difficult. But to get the refined picture of Chittamatra, refined picture of Madhyamika will take time. It requires extensive studies and reflection and meditation. Okay, Gorilla, you have a question?
Geshe, thank you so much. I was just wondering that we posit usually the ultimate reality on going closer to the object. But when we see, the NASA films, you show us the power of 10, which are so amazing. And sometimes when I think of that, I think even when we go at a great distance, again everything dissolves. So I was wondering, is it that ultimate reality is at the extremes and the conventional is all in that space between great distance and extreme proximity? Or what is it we see? Like when we see from space, then again, everything just becomes so.
Okay. Thank you so much, Gorilla. And this requires a little bit of background, and all of us, we need to see this, the power of 10, which is produced by NASA company and also by some other companies. You just Google search the powers of 10, and all these things will come out. And one which goes into the object on the micro level, one which goes away from the object into the macro, to the universe. So there are two versions, one going to the micro, one going away into the macro too. Now Gorilla is asking, when you go away from the object, again the object disappears. Just when you go too close to the object disappears. Object disappears in both ways. So therefore, ultimate analysis, is this something only when you go closer to the object? And can it not be when you go away from the object also? Is this question, Gorilla? Okay. What we can say is that, say the electron microscope, when you look at the object, say the flower, you go closer to when you go to the extent of seeing the cells on the level of this, on the cellular level, then the flower disappears. And then however refined the electron microscope is, you can never find the flower on that level. Whereas with the further away from the object, when you go away from the object in a macro level, when you go away from the object, it's not that the object disappears. It's only the thing is that your perception is so weak that you cannot see it. If you increase your perception, you will continue to see it. You will continue to see the same object. However far you go, if you can just create such a telescope, huge, even if you go away like 100 million light years, you go to a distance which is like million light years, with this big, huge the telescope, you can still see the planet. Don't worry, yeah, you can see. It's just limitation of your eyes. Whereas with the electron microscope, when you reach a certain level, it's not due to the limitation of your eyes, it's due to the nature of the object, that it does not exist objectively. Okay, God will stop here. We'll do the end direction prayer. Okay, let us all dedicate the merits thus gathered, that His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the true source of John happens on this earth, that he lives long and that his wishes be fulfilled spontaneously. And let us also dedicate the merits thus gathered, that the COVID-19 subsides from this world altogether, and that all those who died due to this COVID-19 and all those who died otherwise as well, they take a favorable human birth, they meet with the Dharma of Bodhisattva and the Dharma of the wisdom of emptiness, and to activate the subtle clear-light mind, to cleanse all the mental defilements, afflictive and incarnated both, and become enlightened, to become the beacon of the solace, beacon of hope, beacon of the light of the wisdom for all the dear sentient beings. And let's also pray that those who are hospitalized, those who are badly stricken with this illness and otherwise as well, that they all recover very soon, meet with their parents, just feel the joy of the having reunion with their family members. And let's pray that the teaching on the Bodhisattva, the teaching of wisdom of emptiness, and all the teachings of Buddha flourish in every nook and corner of the world, in the minds of all the sentient beings present and the future. And let me personally dedicate merits thus gathered, that each one of you, through a concerted effort, be able to soon see the dawn of the wisdom of emptiness and the Bodhisattva, that each one of you become such a reliable guide to lead all dear sentient beings to its ultimate happiness. With that in mind, let's turn to the direction prayer. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful generous Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samadhi too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow the perfect example. I dedicate all these rules of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by all the Buddhas who appeared in the 3 times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. Chanjo sanjo rembo che ma ya pa kya gyuro je kya ba nyam ba me ba yam kone kondo pe barai sho. May the Supreme Bodhisattva that has not arisen, arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I could attain the state of Guru Buddha and lead all beings without exception into that enlightened state. I dedicate the merit thus gathered towards the realization that is in the prayers of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of 3 times, and to the upholding of the Dhamma teaching and realization. May I in all life, through the force of this merit, never separate from the 4 wheels of the Mahana vehicle, and accomplish all the stages of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, perfect within the 2 stages. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge to the Triple Gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddhahood in my heart. By the power of practicing and supplicating to you, may all be free from sickness, poverty, and conflicts, and may Dharma and the auspicious proliferate in all the places where we abide. The path of union of emptiness compassion is loosely explained by the protector Buddha Dharma and it beings the land of snows. You are the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso. We supplicate you that your wishes are fulfilled spontaneously. May the operations of evil thoughts and deeds of the negative forces of humans or non-humans who harbor merits through perverted prayers against the teachings of the Buddhas be truly vanquished through the power of the truth of the 3 jewels. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, we enjoy the magnificent Dharma by completing the qualities of the stages and the paths, equality in the state of Vajratara. Throughout my future lifetimes, may I always be guided by the Manjushri and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teachings on dependent origination in particular, even across my life. Parasamgate Bodhiswatyatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswatyatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswaha. Okay, see you all tomorrow.